Hey, Shalom, Yeshua, I want to start off so by giving all praise to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahshua, Bashem, Kakadash, double honors to the apostle of great most and honors you brothers doing the work of the Most High in truth and in sincerity. Yahweh's real name of whom the world ignorant calls God, Jehovah. Yahweh's real name is Yahweh. The Son's true name is Yahweh Shai. Learn to pray, Yahweh, Ba Hashem, Yahshua, burning in, humbling down Sham, meaning names Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai. Just trying to put something together, man, and reason why I'm doing this vid is I've seen it basically across two accounts. So I've got my personal account, so my everyday account. It's what you call a paid version, because I use it quite a lot. But then when I was trying to put together one of my language lessons, was actually started off on one of my other accounts. Now just because I use this at work and stuff like that, just so I'm we're in the flesh, just so I'm not accidentally, you got the tab open, everyone's seeing, at work, everyone's see, the sidebar, everyone's seeing what you're typing, what questions you're asking and stuff like that. So I just keep things separate. Would you call it, especially in an environment where I'm constantly once again, just people always looking at your screens, right? This is Matthew 10 and 16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Right, so it's just kind of way that that I've personally always just done things. Yeah, because I remember my first job. Like everyone used when we would test stuff, everyone would test on my phone because I was the only Android user. So I couldn't have certain things popping up on screen. But I digress. Yeah, the thing that I found very interesting was I observed this across two separate accounts, right? Where like I work in folders right now. What you call it, folders are really useful for if you are if you've got basically got like not folders, projects, right? Really useful if you've got something that you're working on a lot, right? And because basically with these chats, the longer they become, the more confused they become. Right, so it's good if you've got a project that you're constantly doing something over and over again, and you needed to have what's referred to as the same context, right? It is good to choose a project, right? So, for instance, in my language learning project, basically I've just got a thing at the top that says, "Look, if I give you this, you respond in that way," right? So I said, overview here will ask questions about blah blah blah. Says blah, but is the point, right? If I pass something in quotes, right? For example, in quotes, this is an example that signifies I'm asking you to translate everything in that sentence, right? So that's it, right? Yeah, in both accounts, because I started in another account and then in this account, right? When I asked this question, right, which I was just one, because I know how to say it, but I'm just, how it is with language when you're not a native, right? That it's like there's certain nuance that you may or may not have, right? So I was just like, yo, let me just confirm the nuance, right? Especially if it's for the sake of a video, let me confirm the nuance, right? I'm like, to me, this should just be Iran Song Kyong Isoyo, right? So is Iran in the Bible? I just wanted to confirm that. But in both, I said in both accounts several times, it just kept answering in English. So that's why I came up here and I was like, okay, in a new chat, right? Let me just ask in quotes, right? Today is a good day, and it immediately knew what to do. It immediately knew what to do. But then when I'm asking this, and like I said, this isn't the first time. There was another one where it basically, that was the first thing I answered, and it basically gave this more or less this exact same answer. And it's just like, what are you doing? That's not what I've asked you to do. You've got the context of what it is that I've asked you to do, right? So all of that to just say, yeah, they're definitely playing with this, right? They're definitely playing with these tools. And as I said in the video that I just did, right, for arguing to be extra careful, especially if you're using this stuff for work. I got sent a video where basically apparently Microsoft was saying that 25% of the time it goes off, right? Because at the end of the day, man, this is all just this is all just artificial idumia, right? This is the wisdom and knowledge that the Lord has given Esau, right? In fact, let's jump into that real quick. right? It says Ezekiel 28:3, right? It says, "Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee." But the Most High basically has allowed him to get certain knowledge. Okay, but his knowledge will only take him so far, right? This is Job 14:5. It says, "Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass." Right. So not only is his time here and everything associated with that limited, right? But there's only so much the Lord is going to allow him to do. He's got his boundaries, okay? And yeah, man. So like I said, I thought that was very interesting. Like I said, it's the fact that I saw it on two different accounts, right? Both with slightly different rules for the project, right, that I'm working on. But it's then when I chuck this in, right, that it knew what to do then, right? When I'm asking it, then immediately asking it that, right, all of a sudden it's like going back to like breaking the thing. And then I'm like, listen to the rule. I had to shout at it, right? And then now now basically it says what I want, right? And this is ultimately why I asked the question, because this is for the what's the word, for the context, right? With languages, context is important, right? So this is Irani Song Kyong now nayo, right? So now that's basically saying to come out, right? The context, it does also give this, which is a bit more direct, right? But like I said, nuance, right? And that's it. So like I said, I was just checking in here and I observed that. Wanted to report back. So yeah, as always, all that was edifying. And yeah, bulk shot tech, especially if you're using this stuff for work, just be careful with it, man. Especially if you're providing factual reporting, just be careful with it. So as always, that was edifying. Until next time, we say shalom.